All right, hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Coach Matt over at Primal Athlete Training Center. Today we got something a little different for you. We have a senior from East Greenwich High School here in Rhode Island. His name is Joe Higgins. He is doing his senior project here with us. It's something that's required to graduate, where they go out and actually kind of go and learn more about businesses and go and learn more about things that they're interested in as far as continuing on as perhaps a job later in life, just to get some interest and to get some real world experience what it's all about. So Joe, as part of this, has to do an interview with me. So I figured that coaches from all over are always asking me some of the same questions about how I got started, experience, education that's needed, all that good stuff. So we'll take some video for you, edit it down, and crop it for you guys, and make it watchable, and so you're not sitting here watching this thing like a movie for an hour. And then we'll go ahead and put it up on YouTube for everyone to see if you guys are interested in getting started with this as well. So Joe does cross country, he's a wrestler, and does outdoor track. So same as a lot of the other athletes that train here as well, does track and field, but also does other sports as well. So again, we're going to have Joe get started up, and we'll take you guys right through the interview. All right, man, hit it.
All right, so how did you become interested in this type of work?
All right, so with me, interested in the work didn't really start until well after college. So after school, I worked for a track and field company. So I did that until 2009, and I had a lot of parents who would come in and buy things for their kids, and basically would just say, my son needs a coach, or my daughter needs a coach. They don't have a coach at their school. Would you be able to help? And at the time, I just couldn't, because I got out of work at like 6 o'clock at night and it was already dark out. So I was like, nothing I can do, kind of out of luck. So what ended up happening was, eventually, it happened enough where I said, all right, there's definitely a need for this, and I ended up taking the leap and kind of leaving that job and kind of going out on my own as a coach, as a full-time kind of business owner.
How long have you worked for this company, and have you worked in this career for any other company? Why did you leave?
All right.
Kind of answered that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this career, actually kind of training and doing the gym ownership thing, it's been, we're actually in our 6th year of business here at the gym. So before owning this gym, I actually owned another gym. It was an already pre-existing gym that was kind of not doing too well. So I had the opportunity to go in and buy it, and didn't really turn out too well for a number of different reasons. But for a time, I had nothing. I was basically just kind of unemployed, and it's one of those things where we decided, it was actually the day that my son was born, where I said, all right, I'm gonna open my own business, and that's sort of how the whole thing started. It kind of became one of those things where I had to kind of learn on the fly, because I didn't have any formal education as a business owner, but I had worked in businesses since I was 16 years old, so I got a lot of it, but I didn't really know how to apply it. So it was all a lot of learning as you go type of thing when I first started out.
Okay. What education, training, and skills are required for this job? Is an advanced degree required?
Advanced degree is definitely not required. I would say really a degree in anything related to exercise physiology or anything like this is probably not required either. As a business owner, there's so much more to it than just kind of the training aspect. Sometimes the best trainers are people who love doing it. Like a lot of the guys that work here, they absolutely love doing it. But we have, one guy that works here who, when he was in college, was more of a business major. So he did business classes, but loved being an athlete. He was an athlete in college, and he loved the training part of things. So his formal education was in business. So he has a lot of accounting and marketing background, but training's what he loves to do. I was a criminal justice major. I think I told you that the other day.
Yeah.
So I never had any intention. I wanted to go into either local, state, or federal law enforcement. That's what I wanted to do. And it just didn't end up going that way. And, you know, kind of, you know, all of the education for this has been like post-collegiate education on your own. So like just trying to continue your education, learn from other people, read as much as possible, go to as many seminars as possible, clinics, interning with other people, you know, even just like traveling for a few days and working at somebody else's gym if they allow it. That's been the best education I could get. You definitely need to have some type of certification. It's not necessary, but a lot of places do want you to get that. You know, most of the time, they're not worth the paper that they're written on, because you take a test and you pass and you get some letters at the end of your name, you know, some official, you know, title at the end of your name, but it doesn't mean you're a good coach. You know, it's like you can work in a school, but that doesn't mean you're a good teacher. Same thing, you can work in a gym, that doesn't mean you're a good coach. You can have all the initials at the end of your name that you want, doesn't mean you're a good coach. So it's a lot of practical education, a lot of hands-on in the trenches, kind of getting down and dirty type stuff. That's the best way of getting your foot in the door, and the best way of kind of continuing your education in the field.
Okay. Is continuing education required?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, you've got to. The other thing too about that, continuing education is necessary, because this is such a broad field. I mean, getting into like exercise physiology, for example. So say you were an exercise physiology major in college, you would have no idea what you wanted to do. You might go into physical therapy, or you might go into training but for elderly people. You might go into training for young kids. You might go into training just general people. You might want to be a personal trainer working one-on-one, and you might want to be a gym owner kind of working with multiple people or in small groups. So that can fan out, and you have no idea what you're going to do until you try it. And you might say, well, I'm going to work with athletes. And then you start working with athletes and you hate it. And you say, well, God, I should have just worked with adults. So you've got to continuously learn more and more and more, because what works well for athletes might not work well for adults, and vice versa. You know, you might have a background in training high school kids, and you've been a high school coach for 10 years, and then you want to go work with the elderly. Well, you've got to learn all different ways of working with the elderly, because you can't just take an 80-year-old person that had hip surgery and say, all right, we're going to have you do what the high school kids are doing. Let's go run 2 laps. Not going to work. So, you know, you really just need to keep learning as much as possible. This industry is always changing. So from when I started to now, everything is pretty much different. You know, back then it was, you know, static stretching wasn't good. You need to do active stretching. You should only foam roll before workouts, and now it's foam roll after workouts. Studies are always being done and are proving and disproving things that, you know, at this point you can find an argument for everything. So you always have to continue learning and kind of create your own manner of doing things.
Is there any license or certification required for your career?
Yes, not really required, but definitely necessary, just to show that you're doing your due diligence to learn as much as possible. I mean, again, when it comes to certifications, you know, like for example, if like Arnold Schwarzenegger walked up to you in a gym and said, this is something someone had said to me once. If Arnold Schwarzenegger walked up to you in a gym and said, you know what, can I give you some advice on something you're doing? If you could just tuck your elbows in a little bit more, would you stop him in the middle of it and say like, are you certified? Are you a certified personal trainer? And then Arnold Schwarzenegger would look at you and be like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Like Mr. Olympia, and you know, it's me. It's the same thing. I mean, if you have a certification, that's great. You definitely need to, I think, get, especially when you're first starting out, get a certification, because that's going to be the base of your education as a trainer. Is it necessarily? No, but is it a good thing to have? Definitely. And then also certain states, whatever state you live in, might require you to kind of get licensed. So like a massage therapist needs to have a license, a chiropractor needs to have a license, certain other places need to have a license. You may need to have one too as either a trainer or a gym owner through your state. Rhode Island doesn't require one, which is kind of weird. Kind of wish they did. It would get rid of a lot of the people who don't really know what they're talking about, I think. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something where continuing your education is huge. Getting a certification is part of that.
Did you have to interview, take any tests, complete an internship or apprenticeship for this position?
Nope. Good part about being the owner, you don't have to do any of that, but you take all the risk and the responsibility for it. So, you know, I could definitely say I require everyone who works for me needs to definitely do that. Everyone who works here, I think with the exception of one person, everyone who's ever worked here has been an intern first. So they did like 3 months. Most of the guys were for college credit. So they did their internship here for college credit. They learned the ropes of how we did things and then brought them on as an actual paid employee, as a paid trainer. But yeah, interviewing is the first part, then the internship, and then if they cut it for the internship, then I talk with the other trainers, see if they're a good fit. We have sort of an idea, like, would you go out and hang out with this person outside of work? Do you think do you like how they interact with the athletes? Do you like how they interact with the parents? Questions that I ask the other trainers, and if they all are in agreement that they'd be a good fit, then we'll bring them in. If they're in agreement that, might not be the best fit, doesn't really fit well with everybody, maybe saw some things along the way that just didn't jive well with them, then unfortunately they wouldn't get it. So it's much more of an informal thing, but we do have it done.
How many hours do you work in a typical week?
Boy, the gym is open 25 hours a week. So we're here after school hours from 2:30 until 7:30, Monday through Friday. So 25 hours. On top of the 25 hours, there is all... That was really weird. But yeah, on top, that was one of my alarms. But on top of that, so you've got, all of the online stuff, we do that at home. The editing of video, the uploading of video is all done at home. Answering emails, calling back parents, all the stuff that goes into kind of owning a business, that's all done at home in the home office, and the gym is sort of like the workshop. So in total, probably close to maybe 50 hours a week to 60 hours a week on a busy week. And then even during the summertime, it can get even more than that, depending on if there are athletes here longer, if we need to add any sessions during the summer, or open earlier or close later, we do that as well. So, I'd say anywhere from like 40 to 60 hours is about normal.
That actually transitions to one of my next questions, is do you take work home? How often? How many hours per week? But
everything's at home. Yeah, everything's at home. Like I said, we don't have the internet here, so we have no Wi-Fi. We have no phone at the gym, no television at the gym, no nothing at the gym. So all that stuff is done at home. All that stuff's done later.
Okay. What kind of things are you required to do as part of your job?
Man, I own many, many hats. So probably the number one thing that I do here is going to be marketing. Marketing is sort of the lifeline of owning a gym. So I'll do, basically just multiple different ways to try to get new athletes in the gym. So that might be through doing things like newsletters, Facebook advertising, even like a lot of social media is huge because the athletes will share it with each other, share it with their friends. We do an email newsletter to parents, like past athletes, and also to we have like a potential list of new athletes that might be coming in. After the marketing, really for me the big thing is going to be more of like a management type thing. So making sure that trainers are here to work with the athletes when they need to be. making sure that certain classes aren't getting more packed than others, and making sure that the gym just constantly is flowing, that there's no dead times in the gym, but that there's no times where we're just like packed and we can't move and they're not getting their enough attention, so that they're able to make the most improvements. Then there's all the other stuff. There's the writing out the checks and paying the bills and balancing the checkbook and paying the rent and upkeeping with equipment, and I try to kind of do everything along with the trainers and the other people who work here. So if I see it's a Friday night and I've got some of my guys that are just vacuuming and mopping, I'll grab a rag, I'll mop up with them, clean up with them. So it's kind of, you wear about 100 different hats when you're here. You do a lot of different stuff.
All right. Do you have to depend on others in order to accomplish your job?
Yeah, without a doubt. If it wasn't for having a team here, there's no way that we'd ever be able to grow. And when I started, it was just me, and that got old real quick because you do everything. I mean, literally, you're cleaning the toilets, you're training athletes from the day you walk in, the second you walk in the gym to the second you leave. You're running out to get waters, and you're the accountant, and you're the advertising people, and you do everything. So you need to have a team in place. You just, that 100% need people to. I mean, look, we're in here doing the interview right now, and there's people in the gym training. So if it wasn't for the trainer in there right now working with those people, we wouldn't be able to do the interview. So it allows me to be able to do stuff like this to, again, grow the company and make the, try to get us even more people and try to get us to become an even better gym.
What are the salary ranges for the different levels in your field?
It's tough. That's a good question. I would say probably starting out as a trainer, most people probably start right around like $10 an hour. That's, I would say, probably your rock bottom entry level. The top trainers in the world are making like, God, I've heard up to like $1,000 an hour. So if you look at someone like, Jillian Michaels, the girl in The Biggest Loser, if you want to work one-on-one with her, you're probably paying $1,000 an hour, which is insane. But I would say the average, personal trainers nowadays probably make, for one-on-one training, probably make $60 an hour on average. But that's one-on-one. So if you're making $60 an hour and you only work 3 hours a day, and say even you work 5 days a week, that's $180 a day, 5 days a week, you're at $900, which is pretty damn good. But you've got to give half of that back to the gym because you're using the gym's equipment, you're employed by the gym, the person has to pay their membership out of that money. So again, it's not all it's cracked up to be. There are people out there who own small personal training studios. A facility like this works with small groups, so it's less expensive per person, where they might only worked out to be like $15-16 an hour, but you're working with a team of people, so there might be 5 or 6 people in here training at once. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but you're going to get anywhere from like $10 an hour, especially when you first start out, like $10 an hour to maybe $20 an hour, depending on if you're working with groups of people or if you're in more of a high-end club or a specialty type thing. Cool.
Great. What types of fringe benefits are offered for your job?
Fringe benefits. I think the biggest benefit is time. So when you first start out, that's all you've got is time. So I would literally work from the second my eyes open in the morning till like 1-2 in the morning, just doing everything. And I had no time because I was just starting out. But then as you continue going, you build your team. So like, for example, today, my wife wanted to take my kids and myself to visit a friend of ours lives about an hour away, and there was like a fair kind of pumpkin picking, apple picking thing at an orchard by their house. So we went, and it was like bigger than we thought it was going to be. So we thought it was going to be in and out in an hour kind of thing, but it was a huge fair. So we went, we were there. We were supposed to open the gym today at 2:30, and there was no way I was getting home because there was traffic. It was an hour away. So I called one of my trainers and just said, you know, hey, I'm not going to be able to open the gym. Can you get there and open up at 2:30? And he did. So it's sort of the freedom to say, you know, had I planned ahead of time, I probably just would have taken today off had I known it was as big as it was. Had some of my guys come in to cover for me, you know, and kind of been able to spend the day with my family. So I can do that now, 5.5 years into the business. But when you first start out, that's not the way it works. It's a lot of kind of hustle. It's a lot of breaking your back, hitting the streets, so to speak, and, you know, emailing and talking to coaches and just trying to get your name out there. And then once you build that team, they are just so huge to help you out and take a lot of the workload off your back so you can have more time. And time is the one thing you can never buy back. So if once you have some free time, I mean, you got to take advantage of it.
Okay. What is the opportunity for advancement in this area?
Huge opportunity for advancement, but you got to be creative. You know, so we talked about, you know, for example, say the way a lot of people start in this industry is as a personal trainer. So say you're a personal trainer and you're charging, or your gym, you work at like a big box gym, like a Gold's Gym or something like that, and you're charging, or the gym charges $60 an hour. So out of that $60 an hour, the gym's probably going to keep like 60% of it. So $36. That means you get $24. So $24 an hour, pretty good, but you've got to get your own clients. You've got to like hit the floor and talk to people and try to bring in your own clients. So you may start off with 2 clients that train 1 day a week. So in an entire week, you might make $48. And then if you're smart about it, you can say, well, I'm going to do a group class. So we'll do like a group spinning class. And now you've got 15 people who are interested in this group spinning class. So Gold's Gym or whoever it is says, all right, classes are $20 per person. And they split it with you. So now you have 15 people paying you $10 for 1 hour of work. So you're making now $150 for that 1 hour. Now you got to get creative with it. That's when you have to look at, well, maybe I'll make a poster, hang them up around the gym. I'll talk to more people. You know, you have to try to find a time that works for everybody, and that's when you start to like pound the pavement a little bit and get creative. And then let's say that you get to be very well known as like the spin instructor. Now the opportunity comes about that there's a little, you know, space in a plaza, and you can, you know, buy a bunch of spin bikes and open your own spot. So now you're not splitting that money with Gold's Gym anymore, but you've got overhead, you've got rent and insurance and electricity and heat and water bills and taxes. And now all of a sudden it's like, crap, now I need to hire more people to teach more spin classes so I can do this other stuff. And all of a sudden it's like, well, now you've got your own business and you're making pretty good money and supporting yourself. And so all it takes is just being creative. That's, if you're creative, if you're personable, if you can get out there, if people like being around you, you know, you could do pretty well in this industry. You can do okay. But you know, it really takes a creative mind and someone willing to hustle to really be able to take this to the next level.
All right. So, what do you like best about your job?
What do I like best about the job? I mean, I love working with the athletes. I'd say that's probably my number one thing. I like being the boss. That's always good too. The dress code's pretty good, shorts and t-shirt every day. But no, I mean, really the best part about this job is like when someone comes here and you get to know them personally and you get to kind of know their parents very well, and then you go watch them play their games. So it might be like a basketball player that's trained here for 3 years. Now he's a senior on his team, he's a captain, and you go watch him play, and it's like, wow, here's a guy who started with me when he was, skinny and scrawny, and he was sitting the bench on the junior varsity team, and now he's like team captain starting as a senior. That sense of like, I helped somebody do that. You can never, nothing will ever beat that. I've won championships myself. I've been on teams that have won championships. Nothing beats the feeling of coaching somebody else to, or helping somebody else to their own, whether it's personal win, maybe they make the team and they never made the team before. Maybe they lose a bunch of weight and now they're confident, or they like get their first girlfriend or boyfriend because they lost a bunch of weight and now they're confident and now they're like outgoing, and that you just can't put a price on that. That's without a doubt the best part of the job, better than the dress code. That's like the best part of the job right there.
That goes in the next one. What do you like least about your job?
What do I like least about the job? Man, that's a good question. What do I like least about the job? Man, not a whole lot. It's. I would say probably there is a lot of stress, kind of owning your own place, and there's a lot of unknown. So, for example, like you have in every business, there's going to be busy times of year and slow times of year. So for us, like summertime is freaking busy because we've got the college kids come home, and it's been, again, we're in our 6th year. So we have about 3 or 4 years of college kids. So we have all these people. We're used to just be like 4 or 5 people that would come back. Now it's like 15, 20 people that come back. And then we go into fall, all those college kids go back to college. Then we have the seniors from the year before who are going to college for the first time. So you lose people. So it's like, holy crap, I just lost 25 people out of my gym. Like, bye, see you later. I'll see you guys in like 4 months. So you can prepare for that, which we do and we've done very well at, but then there's always going to be that little bit of slow time where you try to build back up your numbers again. So there is some stress involved with this. A lot of people depend on me to, pay their paychecks and take care of them and take care of their families. So there's a lot of stress on that as well. But other than that, doing this is a very fulfilling job. I leave here, I tell people I haven't worked a day in 5.5 years. I show up, I love it. I work here, love it. Go home at night and I'm happy. I'm not like frustrated. I see people like, this is the funniest thing, but when I go, like if my son has like a doctor's appointment, I say it's at like 8:30 in the morning. Like I usually don't leave my house because we open here at 2:30, so I'll usually leave my house around like 1:45, 1:30, come here and open up and like get stuff going. So if I bring my son to his doctor's appointment when regular people are going to their jobs, like you just see how pissed off people are, like when they're in their cars. And I always laugh at that because people are just angry. Like people go to work angry and people leave work angry. And it's like, if you don't like your life, like change it, do something about that. Like that always drove me nuts. It was like, how miserable some people are doing their job. And I can say like there hasn't been one day since we opened our doors where I've been miserable and like went home and just been like, screw this, I hate this job. I'm going to close the gym. I'm going to go back to working a 40-hour-a-week job. I'm going to go back to collecting a paycheck. That's never even popped into my head before. I just, when you do this, it's you have to love doing it. If you don't, you're not going to be good at it. You're not going to be open for too long.
Great. So what advice would you give a student interested in this career?
Student, well, it's good, man, because like I said, everyone who has trained here with me, who has been employed by me, was an intern first. So they were all students to begin with. So practical knowledge, like you've got to get your feet wet, you've got to get your hands dirty, and do as much practical, hands-on work as you possibly can. If you're just reading about it in books and learning about it in textbooks in college, you can take all the anatomy class in the world that you want, all the exercise physiology classes that you want. You can do kind of as much learning in books as you want. But when you get out in the gym and you've got, 3 or 4 athletes that are looking at you, and one athlete has a knee that's been bugging them, one athlete tore her ACL 2 years ago, one athlete, is just, feeling run down, feeling sick, and the other athlete has a big tournament the next 2 days. And they say, okay, what do you want us doing today? All the books in the world aren't going to teach you that. You need to really get the practical work, and you need to get your hands dirty. So if you're thinking about being a physical therapist, start working at a physical therapy place. Do your internship at a physical therapy place. Even if it's like putting away the equipment and mopping up the floor at night, and you just go in 1 hour a day during the summer. Take a look and see if it's something that you want to do, because the worst thing, take it from me as a criminal justice major, the worst thing you want to do is go to college for 4 years because you want to do something. And what I did was, I didn't do any practical stuff until my internship, second semester of my senior year, where I worked for a police department in a small town and was bored to death, and found out like this kind of isn't all that I thought it was going to be. Maybe I don't want to do this for a living. After 4 years of college, that's not what you want to tell yourself. So definitely get out, practical, hands-on learning, in addition to all the stuff that you're going to learn in school.
What changes do you see in this area within the next 5 to 10 years?
Wow. I think the biggest thing is, depending on what you do in this industry, I think we're going to be sort of seen or treated almost like the physical therapy world is treated right now, where, say for example, and let's just kind of throw one out there, but say for example, you are a 40-year-old woman, you're 100 pounds overweight, and you have really bad knees. So your knees are just wrecked. And you go to your doctor. Nowadays, the doctor will say, well, if your knee is hurting, we can prescribe you physical therapy. And the physical therapist will be able to hook you up to electrostim, or, give you exercises to do at home. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, doctors will say, okay, go find a certified strength and conditioning coach. I'll write you a prescription, and you can go to this strength coach, and he's going to give you the proper diet, proper exercise to get you to lose the weight so that your knee is no longer hurting. That doesn't exist. I mean, the doctor can certainly recommend that person go and lose weight or go on a diet. They can recommend that they go to someone who specializes in custom diet plans for people who are possibly obese or very overweight. But I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be treating the not necessarily treating just the acute issue, but treating the entire issue. So when it comes to people who might be overweight, people who might be underweight, people who are coming off of surgeries and they finished physical therapy, I think it's going to be something where in the next 10 years doctors will be able to say, okay, here's your next step. Go and work with a certified strength coach, somebody who has this specific letters at the end of their name, who's worked with people like you before, and insurance will cover it, and you can go and learn, you can go and work with this person so many hours like they do now with physical therapy. I can see that happening. I can also see people making it more part of their daily life. Similar to going to work. You know, you've got a small percentage of the world right now who, especially in the U.S., that will go to work, go to the gym, go home. And the other 90% of people go to work, go home, sit on the couch. I think it's going to become part of that now, where it's go to the gym, go to work, go to the gym, go home. So more people are going to just make it part of their daily life to get healthy. You know, hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years we start going the other way. Now America's getting heavier, we're getting fatter, we're getting more out of shape, more obese, more diabetes, you know, more cardiac issues. Hopefully we start to realize why we're doing that and we start to turn the other way. Hopefully, I mean, if not, we're doing pretty bad. We're gonna just be, we're already, you know, the worst in the world, but we're gonna be like so far down in the toilet, it's gonna be really horrible, really bad.
Okay. What is the biggest stumbling block with younger job seekers?
The biggest stumbling block with younger job seekers, expecting to collect a paycheck in this job. So you might have, like, I don't even know, like, say you graduate with a accounting, you know, as an accounting major, and you go work for a large accounting firm. And the accounting firm says, all right, we're going to hire you, and here's your salary. You know, we're going to pay you $50,000 a year, and you're going to come work for us, and we're going to give you work to do. That's how a lot of businesses work. It's like, we have a job opening, you fit that job opening pretty well, and we're going to hire you and pay you. That's not the way this industry works. So this industry is very much a hustle. You have to go out, you have to make a name for yourself, you have to be very outgoing. You can't just expect to collect a paycheck. You can't just say, hey, I was an exercise physiology major in college and you're a gym and I want a job. Because the gym owner is going to say, well, what else do you bring to the table? You know, do you have experience working with people? If you say no, you probably won't get a job there. If you say, yeah, I work with 10 people right now and you know, they can all become members of your gym. Okay, well, that's great. That's a huge step up, but you can't just expect to get a job. You've got to really be able to go out, kind of get a lot of real world experience, build your resume, and then at that point, I'd say, you know, you're ready to kind of become either like a head trainer at a gym. You know, you're ready to bring in your own clients and start making your own money. Entrepreneurial mindset is huge in this industry, and if you don't have it, if you're not willing to take risks, if you're not willing to you know, stay up late at night, if you're not willing to sacrifice going out with your buddies, you know, on a Friday night, you know, you're probably not going to make it. So, you know, really build your resume, get sort of comfortable being a little bit more outgoing if you're not, and become more of a people person and just really try to you know, kind of create an opportunity for yourself. Cool.
That was the last question.
All right, very good. Dude, that was great.